Shalom. This week's Torah portion of Parashat Va'era, beginning in Exodus chapter 6 and verse 2, includes the first 7 of the 10 plagues that were visited upon Egypt, from blood to hail. Hashem's plan for Israel's redemption from Egypt begins now, step by step. God commanded Moshe and Aaron to confront Pharaoh. Thus chapter 7 begins, Hashem said to Moshe, "See, I have made you a master over Pharaoh, and Aaron your brother shall be your spokesman. You shall speak everything that I shall command to you, and Aaron your brother shall speak to Pharaoh, that he should send the children of Israel from his land. But I shall harden Pharaoh's heart, and I shall multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt. Pharaoh will not heed you, and I shall put my hand upon Egypt, and I shall take out my legions, my people, the children of Israel, from the land of Egypt, with great judgments. And Egypt shall know that I am Hashem, when I stretch out my hand over Egypt, and I shall take the children of Israel out from among them." Hashem further instructs Moshe and Aaron to provide a wonder when confronting this recalcitrant king. "Cast down your staff before Pharaoh," he tells them, "and it will become a snake." They did as God commanded, and as Hashem had spoken, Pharaoh does not heed them. Something strange is going on here, though. Pharaoh summoned his wise men and magicians, the necromancers of Egypt, and they also did likewise with their magic. Each one of them cast down his staff, and they became serpents. But Aaron's staff swallowed their staffs. But Pharaoh's heart remained steadfast. He did not hearken to them as Hashem had spoken. What a bizarre scene, this showdown. What is this really all about? Who are these magicians? And what sort of magic is this? Is there such a thing? How could they actually have reproduced the divinely orchestrated actions of Moshe and Aaron? And the same thing happened regarding the first and second divine plagues of blood and frogs. They were seemingly duplicated by the sorcerers. Through their manipulation, whatever trick they had up their sleeve, Pharaoh's conjurers were able to imitate the first 2 plagues of blood and frogs. When it came to the first 2 plagues, which Hashem had Moshe and Aaron draw forth from a pre-existing substance, the Egyptians were able to create an illusion, which was simply mirroring the reality that Hashem created. Hashem went along with this charade, allowing it for the sake of free choice. You know, he always lets people believe whatever they want to believe. So he presented the Egyptians with the choice to believe in him or not, just as he presents each one of us with the same choice every day. But Pharaoh's men were not capable of creation, and thus they failed in their attempts to replicate the 3rd plague, that of tiny lice. God empowered Moshe and Aaron to change the water into blood and to draw frogs from the water, but only Hashem, the creator of the world, can create something new. It was the magician's inability to replicate the plague of lice that persuaded Pharaoh and his people that the plagues were a true manifestation of the power of the God of Israel. But Pharaoh's heart was strong, and he did not heed them, as Hashem had spoken. So open up your heart. In his total renunciation of the Creator, Pharaoh claimed that he himself was the source of power, and he saw Moshe and Aaron as nothing but cheap stage magicians, and so he called his own stage magicians. Now, some might think that these magicians were actually channeling supernatural forces. Yes, they tried to redirect the existing forces of nature and to suspend them or force their obedience, but it was nothing more than the deception of optical illusion. Torah associates sorcery with idolatry and considers it not only simply a crime, but a capital offense. Why? Because its practice indicates a fatal lack of morality, because no one ever seeks the aid of a magician for a good reason. It's outside of the parameters set by Torah for moral behavior, because no outside help or manipulation or illusion is ever needed when the goal has the approval of God. Attempts are made to break in through the side door of magic only when the objective is for the purpose of evil, and the help of God cannot be counted upon. Pharaoh's warped outlook was based on his total denial of God. And so he took it that Moshe and Aaron are going against nature. He was incapable of understanding, because he would not believe it, that they are merely agents of Hashem, and ein od milvado, there is none but Hashem. And Hashem alone is the one who establishes nature and can go beyond it in any manner or direction that he chooses. Verse 11 informs us that Pharaoh too summoned his wise men and the magicians and the necromancers of Egypt, and they also did likewise with their magic. Understanding Hebrew is so important. With their magic in Hebrew is bilatehem, from the word lahat, meaning a flame, a bright light, something shimmering or shining or hot. And this word lahat is also related to a veil, denoting something being concealed, covered up. Thus, secret arts. Lahat is a flame, and lot is secret, something hidden. This is the very definition of the art of illusion, making the onlooker think that the practitioner has a secret, showing the onlooker something bright and dazzling, and thereby diverting his attention from what is really happening. And all the rulers of old had magicians as cabinet ministers and advisors in their service to help them try to get away with fooling all of the people all of the time. Just like today, rulers have all sorts of experts at their service: scientists, doctors, professors, appointed or elected officials, all sorts of experts who help further the illusion of their power and help them to manipulate that power over the masses, help them to play God. In Deuteronomy chapter 4, Moshe reminds us, "Or has any God miraculously come to take for himself a nation from amidst a nation, with challenges, with signs and with wonders and with wars, and with a strong hand and with an outstretched arm, and with greatly awesome deeds, such as everything that Hashem your God did for you in Egypt before your eyes? You have been shown in order to know that Hashem, He is the God. There is none beside Him." This verse speaks of the wonders that Hashem wrought when He took Israel out of Egypt. Now, the Egyptians were steeped in the magical art of deception, and they relied on their powers to try and prevent Israel from escaping through the illusion of the smoke and mirrors, their cheap stage tricks. But this was just their way of competing with God Himself. Thus, this verse, summing up the description of the wonders of the Exodus from Egypt, states simply, "There is none beside Him," meaning, open up your heart deeper still, because this is such an important reminder for us today. Nothing anyone can ever come up with, not the illusion of Pharaoh's magicians, nor the pathetic props and magic shows of today's pharaohs, nothing has any power to challenge the will of Hashem. That was the purpose of all the powerful wonders and miracles that God did in Egypt. And that is the purpose of the free choice that He provides us with, and the wonders and miracles He performs for all of us today at every hour as well. But everybody knows, and this is the deepest secret in the world, everybody knows that the final great ultimate redemption that we all anticipate daily and wait for will be far greater and will totally outshine the miracles of the Exodus from Egypt, as foretold by the prophet Micha. In fact, and this is such an unbelievable thing to realize, the redemption from Egypt, which birthed the nation of Israel and changed the world forever, it was only temporary. But the final redemption will be forever. So Hashem is not finished. He has some unfinished business yet. So open up your heart deeper than ever in your whole life. When Hashem brought the plague of hail, He said to Moshe, "Stretch out your hand toward heaven, and there will be hail in the entire land of Egypt, on man and on beast, and on all the grass of the field." Midrash describes the awesome scenes. The hailstorm began with thunder and lightning. The earth shook as huge stones of flaming ice rained down, utterly destroying everything with their impact, accompanied by fearsome sounds that terrified the Egyptians and rendered them incapable of fleeing. And when the hailstones hit the ground, they split apart, and tongues of fire issued forth and burned the fields and forests and cities. The hail devastated the entire land of Egypt, with the exception of the land of Goshen, where the children of Israel were staying. This time, Torah tells us, Pharaoh seemed to finally have a sincere change of heart. He summoned Moshe and Aaron and said to them, "This time I have sinned. Hashem is the righteous one, and I and my people are the wicked ones. Pretty please, entreat Hashem. There has been too much godly thunder and hail. I will send you out, and you will not continue to remain." Moshe left Pharaoh and stretched out his hand to Hashem. The thunder and the hail ceased, and rain did not reach the earth. But as Moshe told Pharaoh, "I know that you're not yet afraid of Hashem." And when Pharaoh saw that it was over, he made his heart stubborn again and continued to sin. But this is the deepest Torah in the world. Are you ready? So look at this verse again. Moshe went out from Pharaoh and from the city and stretched out his hands before Hashem. The thunder and hail ceased, and rain did not reach the earth. An ancient source of the wisdom of our sages, the Mishnat Rabbi Eliezer, teaches us that when Moshe prayed, yes, the hailstones ceased from falling down, all right, but those that had already fallen from heaven, those that had already been dispatched the moment before he began his prayer, did not reach the earth. Rather, they were suspended between heaven and earth, holding still in the air. Torah doesn't state that the hail didn't descend from the sky, but that it did not come down to earth. It stood still where it was. But that hail did fall. It fell to earth sometime later, in the days of Joshua. In chapter 10 of the book of Joshua, we learn of Joshua's battle at Givon against a confederation of 5 Amorite kings who gathered together against the children of Israel. Torah tells us that Hashem confounded them before Israel and smote them with a mighty blow at Givon. But then, verse 11 continues, it happened that as they fled from before Israel and were on the descent of Beit Horon, that Hashem cast down upon them great stones from heaven until they reached Azekah, and they died. More died through the hailstones than the children of Israel killed with the sword. And all this, by the way, is before the sun stood still, earlier that same day. These were the hailstones that were left over from the plague of hail in Egypt, suspended in between heaven and earth by the power of Moshe's prayer, and hanging in the air for 41 years. There's no waste in Hashem's economy, and nothing comes up empty. His word is his word, and he doesn't take it back. So open up your heart deeper still. The thunderous godly sounds, such an intrinsic part of the plague of hail, were also suspended in the air, and they finally showed up much later as well. In the days of Jehoram, king of Israel, in the book of Kings 2, chapter 7, we learn of a terrible famine caused by a siege. And then a group of lepers arose at twilight to go to the Aramean camp, and they arrived at the edge of the camp, and behold, not a man was there. Hashem had caused the Aramean camp to hear the sound of chariot, the sound of horse, the sound of a great army. And they said to one another, behold, the king of Israel has hired against us the Hittite kings and the Egyptian kings to come upon us. So they arose and fled in the twilight. They abandoned the camp, and they fled for their lives. Those sounds had been hanging in the air for like 500 years. Hashem saved these leftovers from his miracles of the Egyptian exodus, ready for just the right moment. Who knows what other unfinished business he has ready for us to experience, and what new wonders that will eclipse the old as we approach the great redemption of all mankind. As Micha the prophet tells us, as in the days of your exodus from the land of Egypt, I will show him wonders. The best is yet to come. Shalom. As we learn on this week's Torah portion, the redemption has begun. But just as it was in the days of the Egyptian necromancers, so too today, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors. May Hashem bless us all, that we should be able to focus on Ein Od Milvado. There is nothing in this world but Hashem. We should be able to see through all the tricks and deceptions as we anticipate the final great coming redemption. Shabbat Shalom.